Okay.
I'm just using my
And
data surname.
and we are live, Angie alive, Angie alive, Angie alive, shaking things about. And
I'm
we are
talking
live on a
so bad.
Monday. Good afternoon to you and yours. Well, usually we come at 11:15, but today, different times for different guests. We are hosting the programs or project manager at Oram Pop, and that's why we're coming at this time. It's a little bit of a special episode because we are celebrating 10 years of clinical associates, and this has been one of our celebration. Well, we attended sort of like a physical celebration on Friday. Was it Friday? Thursday. But today we are having the conversation side of it. Well, like I said, good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for joining us. My name is Vee Ka Nkosi for Oram Pop and Chats. This is a clinical Monday, the best way to begin a healthy week. And today we are talking all things clinical associates. What are they? What are they all about? The things that you need to know, the 411. And we have, can I say, the best in the business with regards to this topic. Her name is Nompumelelo Magagula. So let me just give you a big background who she is before we begin the conversation. She is a disciplined, hardworking individual who has served in the South African National Defence Force for 10 years. I wouldn't have thought of that. But anyway, we'll get to that a little bit later. And left the force with the rank of lieutenant, and she graduated with her BCMP degree from the University of Pretoria, a PG, I think that is Diploma in Health Professional Education and Leadership, and obtained from the Foundation of Professional Development. Come again, let me read that again. Yes, Foundation of Professional Development, that is FPD. She has a certificate in HIV/AIDS management, a certificate in project management, and is currently pursuing her master's in business administration. She is a CETA trained facilitator, assessor, and moderator. She is an associate lecturer with VETS. Let me read that right. Just got to step there with the VETS. I lost my VETS University, and joined the Oram joined Oram as KAP project manager. She believes strongly in female leadership and the importance of education in the fight to eradicate poverty and most of the ailments that our community or rather our country is currently facing. And her interests are reading biographies, listening to audiobooks. She was listening to one when we were going to Cape Town, and podcasts, and spending time with the family. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Nompumelelo Magagula. If I had an audience, they're going to clap, but I'll clap for you. Hi, Mpumi, welcome.
Hi, V. Thank you so much for such a detailed introduction, Ngiyabonga. For a minute there,
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about? Giving away
Well, we
my
talk
age,
about,
like, you're talking about the years I've served. Like, what are you talking about? But
well,
thank
10
you
years
so
in the
much,
force.
V. Thank you for
I,
having me.
Thank you so much. But 10 years in the force, I wouldn't have guessed that. Actually, you know what? We should in your office, on your office door, we should put all those, can I call them credentials or achievements so that we know who we're dealing with. I mean, 10 years in the force, I wouldn't have thought of it.
Yeah, that was an interesting time in my life. I like to say that's my family business. So both
Mm-hmm.
my parents were in the military, my brother's in the military, my mom's in the military, my stepfather's in the military. So it's our family business. So after school, it was just natural that I would go into the army.
Yeah.
Luckily, I went into the health professions part of the army or the military health services of the army, and I served for 10 years and left with the rank of lieutenant.
Yeah. Okay. So Lieutenant Mac, then, or well, after that, or in the midst of that, I think it's before then you did clinical associate. For somebody who does not know what it is, just briefly give us the background. What is a clinical associate?
So it was actually during my tenure at the military, that I went to study my bachelor in clinical medical practice and therefore becoming a clinical associate. at the University of Pretoria. So a clinical associate is a mid-level healthcare worker who is primarily trained in district hospitals, but we are not limited to working in district hospitals. We work within the team, but a clinical associate can literally see a patient from when they walk in, do an examination, take a detailed history, do investigations if it's needed, come up with a management plan, implement that management plan, admit a patient if they have to, all the way through to discharge of a patient, and if need be, also assist in a surgery for that patient. So a clinical associate is an all-rounder, basically.
Got you. I almost said they're almost like doctors. But when we're having a conversation in the car, we like, they are nurses that went to private.
Don't let the nurses hear you say that, Vee. Don't let the nurses hear you say that. So yeah, we get that a lot. We get that a lot, especially in the beginning of the course, because I was part of the second group. The course started in the year 2009. That was when the first group was enrolled into university. The University of Walter Sisulu University was the first university to take in a cohort of clinical associates. They did it in 2009. I enrolled in 2010 in the University of Pretoria. So we were the second group. UP also had a 29 late in the year group. So yeah, I was the second group. And it's quite, it was an interesting journey, like you are saying. You know, some people will say, are you guys doctors? Are you guys nurses? What are you guys? We are clinical associates. So I'm not trying to be a doctor. I'm not trying to be a nurse. I'm trying to be a clinical associate. I am trained in what I'm trained to do. And when I walk into a healthcare facility, I do exactly that. I provide healthcare provision and services to my client, to my patient, as a clinical associate. So we're not posing as doctors. You know, we're not nurses with what did you say, private school. Like, we're not. We are clinical associates, and we deserve that space. We deserve that that acknowledgement, that recognition.
Yeah, I want us to then later on in the conversation, Bumi, to really distinguish, you know, the roles, or rather distinguish what a clinical associate is from a nurse, because I think, like you said, we need to really acknowledge the fact that, you know, you guys are there and you serve as certain people. So I want us to get that a little bit later on. But then what would be the difference between a clinical associate to a nurse or any other health provider in the larger scope of things? You know, what differences are in terms of that?
Okay, the first difference would be we study different things, right? So I have a bachelor in clinical medical practice. A nurse will have a degree in nursing. A doctor will have a degree in, you know, the degree that they study, right? So we have our own qualifications, and within the healthcare team, we serve different roles. So as a clinical associate, I work under the supervision of a medical officer, of a registrar, of a consultant, whoever is the senior in that team. I'll work under their supervision. But Vee, this is not direct supervision, right? So within my first year of working outside of university, I would need direct supervision. So the doctor will have to be whether in the next room, just to make sure that I'm still doing the right thing. After 5 years, I mean, I qualified in 2013. I can work without a doctor shadowing me, you know? So long as a doctor is within a phone call away, if I feel like this is beyond my scope, I can work independently. You know, I don't need the doctor shadowing me. So the doctor can provide his supervision, but not physically. And that is why clinical associates, I think, were created. Because our country, you know, even before the inception of clinical associates, we have a dire shortage of healthcare professionals. And clinical associates were envisioned or created to try and close that gap. Because yes, we have, you know, close to what, 400-500 hospitals, but we don't have enough doctors to fill those hospitals. We have over 3,000 clinics within South Africa, but there's not enough doctors to fill each clinic with a doctor. And sometimes patients go months, weeks without having a doctor come by their clinic. So with the clinical associate's experience, the clinical
happening
associate
with
expertise
that.
and education,
Happy.
I can work without the doctor being physically there and provide a similar service.
Yeah, Mpumi, we're breaking. I don't know if you can pick me up clearly, but we had a bit of a technical glitch there. But you were talking about the scarcity of healthcare workers in South Africa, and you were then giving a point to saying that's why clinical associates are there. I don't know. I just got the first part, but I missed the last bit there. Do you mind going back to that point?
I was saying, Vee, that was where the need for the clinical associate profession arose from, right? The fact that there was not enough doctors within our healthcare facilities, right? Like I made the example of, our parents, our grandparents waiting to see a doctor come through their village, come through their clinics. And with the clinical associate placed within that village, placed within that healthcare facility, you don't have to wait for the doctor, right? I don't need a doctor to shadow me and watch me work. I can provide that service to the patient without a doctor present, and I can also perform minor surgeries that a nurse cannot do without the doctor present again. Therefore, bridging that gap and allowing our communities to access healthcare services more easily.
Most definitely. If you just joined us, welcome to it. We call this Clinical Monday for Orampop in Chats. My name is Vee Ka Nkosi. I'm the host behind the scenes, making sure that all those technical glitches are taken care of. Is Happy Phaleng, and my guest this afternoon, not morning, is Nompumelelo Magagula, who now sits as a project manager at Orampop. And we are discussing clinical associates, and also we'll be touching on the 10-year celebration that the clinical associates at Feds have been under since of Wednesday. I'm forgetting the date of Thursday. And if you can, yes, please be part of the conversation right here on Orampop and Chats. Also on YouTube, our YouTube channel, it is Orampop, and we are on Twitter as well, live on our space. It is @n_health. So don't forget to use the hashtag Clinical Monday and send those questions. If you are actually, I was on Twitter this weekend, and I saw a lot of, actually, I think a lot of people follow our Twitter space, TikTok space. So I saw a lot of posts coming there for the clinical associate. So it is quite interesting to see that. So if you are tuning in right now and you are part of that Twitter space, part of that TikTok, make sure that you send through your comments. Would love to hear how your experience has been. I want us to then touch on the 10 years. Or rather, before then, let's touch on the key functions or roles of a clinical associate. I think you touched on them, but maybe perhaps elaborate on a few that you have not. Speak to what would be their, let's say, a typical day of a clinical associate when they are in a health facility.
Okay, a typical day of a clinical associate in a healthcare facility. So, as a clinical associate, you are trained to offer a biopsychosocial treatment to a patient. So as a patient walks in, you will take a full history of the patient. You will then come up with a full biopsychosocial assessment. So I'm not only looking at you, Vee, biologically to say what illness have you come up in with, but I'm also looking at what contributed to that illness psychologically, what contributed to that illness socially, right? And then I come up with a full biopsychosocial plan to address those needs. And I don't do this by myself. Like I said when we started, that a clinical associate works within a clinical team. So, if I do need to refer to whether it's a doctor or a social worker, I go ahead and I do that to make sure that I address whatever need you have come in with holistically and biopsychosocially, covering all the aspects of a human.
Got you. 10 years, what a milestone. What are some of the themes that you guys are touching on with this year's celebration, or with the celebration that took? Actually, I still think that we are still within the celebratory mood of, clinical. I know.
Continue.
No, so what are some 10 years milestone? What are some of the things that you are touching on with this celebration? And perhaps do you, besides the physical celebration, we are still continuing. What are some of the things that you will then continue touching on as you guys celebrate 10 years?
Yeah. before the trolls come for us, right? Especially the first group that graduated in 2011. We actually are in existence more than 10 years, right? So the first group graduated in 2011. So that would put us in about 12, 11, 12 years. So 10 just sounded like a nice number, right? We celebrated 10 years of existence, but clinical associates have been around a little bit longer than a decade. But the reason we wanted to mark this milestone and bring, attention to the fact that there is a new cadre of healthcare professional in South Africa, and it's called clinical associates, is the fact that we needed people to understand the impact that we've made within the past 10 years. We needed to bring recognition to our name. We needed to bring acknowledgement to our name. Because just like you were asking earlier, are you a nurse? Are you a doctor? People walk into a healthcare facility, receive care from me, who's a clinical associate, and walk out there and be like, oh, the doctor was so nice. Oh, it was a clinical associate. So we just wanted people to know about us and just to celebrate. We've done a lot in the past decade. We've done a lot in academia. We've done a lot in the healthcare space, and we just needed that to be out there. And we thought 10 years would start.
Yeah. Well, 12, 10, whatever years, perfect celebration. I think,
celebrating either way.
Yeah. For me, it says, clinical associates, then, maybe they were not, like you're saying, somebody walks into a facility, it's been assisted by a clinical associate, but then they would walk out and say, oh, that doctor was nice. So I think 10 years really shows the stretch that the qualification or that the profession has been existing. So let's touch on then versus now. What changes? I want to come to that. What changes have been made with the curriculum or the course that has been offered? So when you look at 10 years, 12 years from now, or then versus now, what has been some of those changes that have been made, in the curriculum of clinical associate?
Even before the curriculum, one thing that stuck out to me when I was walking into the varsity last week was the sheer size of the clinical associate class. I mean, when we started, we were a drop. They were still testing the waters to see, will this thing work? So the first class at Wits University only took 25 first years. And this year, Wits University has close to 100. I think it's 91 first years. So, that's a big, big number that will go back into the healthcare system and make a difference, right? With regards to the curriculum, a lot has changed. We have learned, we have adapted to how education, especially medical education, is being offered, in the new, is it the fourth revolution we're in? Yes. So, using things like the sim lab, connecting with people when we couldn't come into the the varsity space physically, but trying to connect and making sure that education and educating clinical associates who are pivotal in the healthcare space that continued. Things like postgraduate courses that when I was a first year, they didn't exist. But luckily, by the time I was doing my third, fourth year, we had a postgraduate in emergency medicine, which I went and I did as well. So, things like that are allowing for the profession to grow, to say, yes, as a clinical associate, you'll have your undergrad degree, but you can grow. And this month, actually, Vee, as we celebrate 10 years of clinical associate, we just got our first PhD clinical associate. So Dr. Sanele Ngobo is the first clinical associate to graduate with a PhD. So we are growing steadily. Very nice.
Yeah. Well, all round achieving, I absolutely love that. And I like the fact that, it's to show that there is more interest. I mean, over 100 first years, that's a lot. It says that there is some change that has been brought into the space. I like absolutely. So I think the encouragement would be for more people to then go on into the course. What are some of the topics in the curriculum that you are touching on, and perhaps maybe they are essential? I think all of them, they're essential because they then make up the clinical associate. But what are some of those topics that you are touching on?
Well, a clinical associate is trained within the district hospital space, V. So, we are not limited to one speciality. That's why in the beginning of our conversation, I said we are an all-rounder. So clinical associates will be trained in emergency department. Clinical associates will be trained in internal medicine, in gynae, in surgery. So we rotate within all the disciplines of the hospital. And by the time I leave, whether you place me in a tertiary institution, whether you place me in a community healthcare center, I am capable of giving that help. I'm capable of providing those services.
Got you. And what are some, or rather, does the curriculum then cover, principles of dealing with KP? I think, when we look at the healthcare, can I say facilities, they are looking at an individual, or rather, dealing with an individual as they come. There is not really probing. I think only in NGOs or in those private sector, there is that probing in terms of, what the person is and how we can then cater for their needs specifically. They can be from the key population, they can be from the minority population, they can be from different kind of populations. So does the curriculum then cover the principles when it comes to dealing with key populations?
Very, very interesting question, V. And being an academic and a educationalist at heart, and also working within the population space, I feel this is something that needs to be addressed not only within the clinical associate degree, but all medical degrees and nursing degrees, wide. So while you're a medical student, you are taught about key populations, right? So there'll be a section of it, there'll be a lecture on it, and then you go to the clinical space, right? You go to the hospital, you go to the clinic, and you don't see what you learned about at school. You literally, it doesn't translate. You're like, so where are these people? And the reason, we don't see the population is because of the stigmatization that they find when they try to access our healthcare facilities, especially our public healthcare facilities. And that's why I advocate strongly for clinical associates and other medical professionals to be sensitized, right? Not once I'm a clinical associate sitting in the clinician's chair, not once I'm a nurse sitting in the clinician's chair, but while I'm a student, right? So don't sensitize me when I'm now a professional, when I've already picked up all the bad habits, when I've already inherited all the things that I see my peers doing as professionals. Put it in me as a student, right? Throughout my rotation, in the clinics, remind me that there are key populations here, that there are these people that need you to be sensitive to what they come in with, right? And that's what we are advocating for, to say, let's take this sensitization training to the undergrads before they qualify, so that by the time they become the clinical associate who's ready to sit in my own clinical, consultation room, I can accept an MSM with my smile, and I can provide the care and treatment that they need without feeling otherwise. I can give you, the one-stop shop KP centers of excellence treatment anywhere in South Africa.
Yeah, I've got you. And I think it's quite important to start the sensitization at the grassroots level, or the grassroots level then being the entry level of clinical associates course or qualification. So I think that is quite important. So that, and it's, I don't I don't want to say I don't blame the ones that are not sensitized. I don't as well, because I mean, sensitization then it means it was not then provided. But I think we need to call for more sensitization in terms of the field and many other fields that are dealing with people, especially when we look at the Battle Bailey principle. I think it is quite important. And is okay. Before I do that, I feel like I'm denying you the comments that are coming soon. Let's quickly go to the comments. Thank you so much for everybody that's commenting on our social media platforms. I currently have Facebook. It is Oram Pop in. If you have not shared this live, share it with your friends and let them know that today we are celebrating 10 years, or rather, touching on the celebration of 10 years of Clinical Associate. And my guest is Nompumelelo Magagula, who is currently sitting as the chair of Project Management. I almost said something different.
Give me another title there, Vee.
Wanted to add another title to the already existing titles that you have, but project management or project manager at Oram for the key population project, which is a program rather, which is popping. I'm seeing my screen is buzzing with all hearts. It's not for me, it's for you. I think they see me every day, so just giving you the love. It's fine. Leona is saying this two of these emojis and a high 10 and the in love phase. So I think Leona Mabasa, can you hear me now? We took a bit of a technical break there. Happy technicalities are not technicaling this Monday. Also a comment coming in from Zandisa Mpati, sending you a fire emoji there. And then comes to say, today I have learned the critical importance of clinical associate, or rather clinical importance played by clinical associate in the health settings. Hashtag happy 10 years and more. Most definitely happy 10 years and more. And my screen is just filled with love. So those are the comments that are coming in there for you, to me. And the love is being most definitely sent through. So thank you so much. But I think you should come here more often, and so that we can get this love and share it. Right, let's go back to the chat. I think I covered then if the curriculum really touches on dealing with KPs. You did say that sensitization needs to be important from the grassroots or from the entry point of the clinical associate. Another comment as I continue. It moved, but I saw a lot of hearts. Let me ask you this question. We'll go back to the comment. It says, is there a gap? I think you spoke about this. Then is there a gap that you think clinical associates are meeting within the healthcare scope, or within the healthcare space? And I think you touched on that there is a gap and the clinical associates are meeting that. Do you perhaps maybe want to stretch on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I'd like to do that. On Thursday, if you had the pleasure of being there, and those that did attend will attest to the fact that the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie. So some of the presenters that were there presenting the strides that clinical associates have achieved in the past 10 years, especially in the HIV and AIDS pandemic, right? In South Africa, COVID's not our only pandemic, right? Before COVID, we had the big brother of all big brothers, HIV and AIDS, right? And clinical associates have found a spatial niche in dealing with HIV and being part of the HIV eradication efforts, especially in the NGO sector. Myself being a clinical associate, working within a project that is catering for MSM and transgender women, and making sure that they give or they receive good care and treatment within the HIV and AIDS space. And we saw numbers talking to other projects, in general population, in their adolescents, where clinical associates are not only being the clinicians in these spaces where they are providing, your preps, your arts, all of that, but they're also the managers that are driving these programs, right? They're also the people coming up with the innovative ideas to say, hey, let's do it this way. We've tried to tackle HIV in this area and it's not working. Let's try this way. So, you know, it's very heartwarming to know that we are part of solving one of our country's biggest problems.
Yeah, most definitely. I want to go to this comment that just came in from all the way from Durban, from Ray Ray Bongo. This is, by the way, one of our intervention facilitators out in Durban. And they say, together we are saving our rainbow community. I think that is quite fitting for this conversation. So thank you so much, Ngosenye, for that comment. And I'm still continuing receiving some love. So don't forget to share this live with your friends and let them know that today we are celebrating 10 years, or rather, we might want the 10-year celebration of Clinical Associates. Onika Mama Charisma. Love that name, Charisma. Sending us all sorts of love. Thank you so much, Onika. But like I said, I think it's mostly for Umi. I really see that comment and I really appreciate that. Let's quickly go down and see if we have any other comments. That's about it on the comments. All right. So, well, you've covered then what then the clinical associate, or elaborated on the gap that they meet. Let's touch on, before I let you go, this will be my last question and then I'll let you go. Let's touch on the celebration on Thursday. What are some of your highlights with you know, that celebration, or with, you know, the I call it an event that happened at events? What are some of your highlights, and what was the general mood then for you know, the new upcoming clinical associates in terms of that event? What was their takeaway as they left?
One of my highlights, before I answer your question, V, was having a pop-in stand at Wits University.
Now.
So that was really nice to see the students interacting with our material, interacting with our staff members. So thank you. That was really nice. One of my takeaways, so we had various stakeholders at this event. We had the National Department of Health, we had the 3 other universities that offer the degree. So it's not only done at Wits University, it's also done at Walter Sisulu and at the University of Pretoria. We had people that had worked and also employed clinical associates. And to hear, you know, it's nice for me to be the clinical associate and say all the nice things about us, but to sit back, hear someone who, you know, number one, didn't even have to hire us. You know, they could have just hired a doctor or a nurse, but someone to hire a clinical associate and then come and say, oh my word, I'm opening my 3rd, you know, clinic, and it's all run by clinical associates. To have people from the Donald Gordon institution, that is a cutting edge. I mean, not only in Africa, internationally, it's a place that people, you know, who suffer from cancer come for treatment. To have them say, we have clinical associates within our units and we want more, you know, to have the NDOH, the National Department of Health, put a stamp on us and say, this is what we envisioned in 2002 when we first sat around the table to think about, you know, how are we going to bridge this gap, and to look at other countries and how they were doing it. And they have things like physician's assistants and clinical officers, and to bring it to South Africa and to the South African context and to create a clinical associate. And then for the department to say, yes, it's happening exactly the way we had wanted to, right? For us, that was definitely heartwarming and beautiful to see that, you know, our hard work is paying off, and we are getting to smell our roses before we get too old, before we get too old. So that was really, really nice. But there were very important things that, sorry, my phone is moving. There were very important issues that were also touched on during that event. And I also spoke about it in the beginning of our conversation, is the growth of this profession and the impact they can make if we are allowed to grow. If more universities can take on the clinical associate degree and offer it to young, Black, aspiring, able clinicians who want to go back to their communities to serve. I mean, there was a young girl who's actually at the University of Pretoria, who stood up and spoke to the HR lady from the National Department of Health to say, can you please make sure there's a post when I qualify? Because I want to go back and work where my grandmother fetches her medication. I want you to place me in that place. You know, so to see things like that happening was really, really heartwarming. So we really, really can't wait to do this again next year and the year after next and the year after next, and hopefully have people within the KP population to come through and say, this is how clinical associates have served me as an MSM. This is how clinical associates have served me as a transgender woman, and I am now able to access care because they are in the facility.
Most definitely. And I think, with, I think it's Zandi's comment who said, happy 10 year and more and more. So most definitely and more and more and more coming your way. Speaking of Zandi and Ray, please. Oh, and Andile, please DM us, your contacts as we will send. Oh, DM us your contacts and your hoodie sizes or what you wear on t-shirt sizes. We're going to send you some goodies just for being amazing people, for tuning in for this episode. And for that, you're just going to get some goodies coming your way. Speaking of Andile as well, their comment says clinical associate makes the workload at health centers less. And also, they are part of decision-making structures at health facilities. Big up Mpumi and the team. Thank you very much, Andile. Regards to you, we receive the comment. Thank you so much. So please make sure that you DM us so we can send some nice music your way. Nompumelelo, in closing, I don't know how to phrase this. What are your closing remarks? I think that's where I'm going with it. So in closing, what would be your closing remarks as we let you go? And just say, happy 10-year anniversary or happy 10-year celebration for all the clinical associates out there.
I would like to close off by saying thank you. Thank you very much, Vee, for giving us this platform. Thank you for bringing awareness to the clinical associate profession. And long live. We are a profession that's here to stay. We are a profession that's here to grow. We are a profession that's here to serve our country because, healthcare is a basic human right. And clinical associates can give you that.
Most definitely. Well, with that said, thank you so much, Mpumi. Enjoy the rest of your day. Happy Monday to you. Don't be a stranger on the platform. When you have some other goodie celebration things, pop in and let's have a chat.
Thank you, Vee. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.
Alrighty, with that said, that was Nompumelelo Magagula giving us the 411 rather on clinical associates. Listen, I'm gonna see you on Friday. As we say, it's a wrap, and most definitely be part of that. And make sure that you go to www.popin.org to be part of the family. And don't forget, we have 5 pop-in sites in 5 districts. Pop in for all your health, for all your free sexual health needs, and all the services are for free. But nonetheless, make sure that you interact with our social media content or with our social media platforms for our social media content. With that said, I'm going to see you on Friday. Happy streaming. Bye-bye.